Welcome to our Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Mexico's Gentle Giants, Protecting Humpback Whales. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our guest speakers today. Coming to us from Mexico, we have Astrid, Frisch, Jordán, and Karel, Beets, Vigil with us. Astrid and Karel, over to you.
Okay, my name is Karel Beets. I'm one of the expedition leaders of Natural Habitat Adventure. I've been guiding trips for many years, mainly you see my picture there with the monarch butterfly, but also I'm going with the whale sharks in the Yucatan Peninsula. I study hotels management, but then I do a master's degree on sustainable development and ecotourism. And since I love nature, both Astrid and my wife and we make a not-profit organization called Ecology and Conservation of Whales. And today we're gonna be talking about one of our main projects, that is disentanglement of big whales or in Mexico waters.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Astrid Frisch. I am a biologist, and when I'm not guiding for NatHab, I am doing research with whales, mostly with humpback whales in the Mexican Pacific. But as you will see through this webinar, in the past 10 years, a little bit more than that, we've been working also in the rescue of whales that get entangled in gear. So that's also taking a lot of our time and research efforts. So we hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining us today. Lee, can you pass the presentation?
Sure. You need me to move the slide for you? There you are.
Got it now. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, first of all, we have to know that Mexico has these two oceans, the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. And we have 33 of the cetaceans in the world come to Mexico water. And today we're gonna be talking more about the big whales, like the baleen whales, and especially the population that is located more like on the Pacific coast, starting from Oaxaca all the way to Baja. And those, just to let you know that in Mexico, the whales are protected by federal law in different levels. They have a special protection. So the whales, you know, are big, but just to give you the size, because we're gonna be talking about disentangle and people in this big effort. But first, it's important to know that the whales are big, are strong, so they can weigh like 30 to 40 tons. Also, they could be for 40 to 60 feet long. So they are huge, but they are very big, and they are free in the ocean. Sometimes they have these problems with that we're gonna talk about, and what we do to take care of them.
So as Karel was saying, let's see what's the problem. And one of the big problems whales are facing these days are entanglements. Entanglements happen anytime whales interact with fishing gear, and that can be any time of the year, any place of the world where whales find fishing gear, because whales cannot detect all this gear or objects under the water. It can be an active fishing gear, but it can also be ghost nets or any trash and things like that can get them in trouble. So as Karel was saying, we have over 33% of these whales come to Mexico, and some of them, like the humpback whales or the great whales, migrate to Mexico to mate and to calve. So this is a very important region for them. We can find them all over the Mexican Pacific coastline and the Baja Peninsula. And what makes it also very complex for this problem is that the fishing gear can vary a lot per region. So it generates different problems in different regions. We like it a lot in Spanish. When we refer to fishing gear, we call it artes de pesca, which means fishing arts. So it's basically sort of an art. So that's why there's so much variation from one spot to the next. So there's not one single solution to this problem. But at the end, the good thing is that the solution is in our hands. So in order to help the whales that get entangled in fishing gear, we created the Mexican Whale Disentanglement Network that in Spanish we call RABEN. Everybody calls it sometimes in English RABEN, but it's really RABEN. And this was created by our nonprofit organization. And for 16 years, we have been running the national coordination here in our home in Puerto Vallarta. And it's said easily, but it's 16 years of successfully releasing whales and also keeping all our members safely. So the idea is to try to share a little bit about this big successful effort in Mexico today.
Bueno, the RABEN team works with different volunteers, different groups, different, like for example, the government. We involve the Navy, the Wildlife Minister, the Harbor Master. Also, there in the ocean, there's the whale watching fleet that let us know where the whales are, and also are part of the team. There's not-profit organizations that help us to get some funds to organize workshops. Of course, university through all their knowledge and volunteers. But something that is really amazing is really like a networking. Is a group with a different lines of work all together in order to help the whales and disentanglement from the ocean. There you can see some pictures on actually in action, and we're gonna see those in a video and in the pictures in this presentation. There you go. There's some pictures again on the work, and something that is important after in all this year. We work with the protocols of the International Whaling Commission to minimize all risk and to be safe in the water. Because imagine to help a 30-ton whale is not that easy. So you have to take care. You have to have really a technique and also to be aware. So something, for example, we never go into the water. When we start this, a lot of people think that you have to be a diver, go on the water and cut nets to help the whale. And one of the first rules is nobody gets on the water and follow the organized protocol and a technique to release the whale. Bueno, also history is very important. In 2004, January 3rd, it was this team in Puerto Vallarta. We start with this case. Was a whale trapped on a net, and for kind of the net we think was a local net. But then, and in those times we didn't have the right tools, the training, which has the passion to do something and to help the whale. And that was really important. And also in that day, we put together the Navy and the group of volunteers, and we have a good successful. But also this was like the kickoff, the starting. It was the seed. Everybody gets really enthusiastic, and everybody start to get on the way that we have to do this because we don't want to happen again. And in case they happen, to have a safe group and a group to help the whales. So that was the beginning, and from there we start.
So as Karel was saying, we started in 2004, and from 2004 to 2012, we did a lot of training. We prepared our tools. Then we started growing a network of teams around Mexico with the help of the National Park System of Mexico called CONAM. And we did such a good job that in 2015, the International Whaling Commission invited us to join them to the Global Disentanglement Network. This is a group of experts in disentanglement attention that come from all over the world. In those days, there were only 12 different countries. Today, we have 20 different countries involved in this Global Disentanglement Network from the International Whaling Commission. And we try to gather every 2 years, and then we share experiences. We see what is the new technology, new gear that we can use, anything that can help us be more efficient in our protocols and also be safer. So we're very proud to be part of this team with the International Whaling Commission now. So now we have these 15 teams all over the Mexican Pacific. We make this network from 2012 to 2020 today. So our more further south teams are in Oaxaca coast here. Then we have Manzanillo, Banderas Bay, Puerto Vallarta, where everything started. Then we have San Blas and Rincón de Guayabitos. Then we have another team in Mazatlan. Then we jump to the Baja Peninsula to Los Cabos, La Paz, Loreto. We have a team in Vizcaíno, just for the gray whales that come there precisely. And then we also have our more northern team, Bahía de Los Ángeles. We have 180 trained members. And the idea of having all this network of teams and all these members is basically that we don't have much mobility. We are a group of volunteers, so basically sometimes the whales are far from the coast, or we receive the reports very late, or the whales are very aggressive and evasive and don't allow us to rescue them. So sometimes one report starts or attention starts in one place, like Manzanillo, and then we finish in Banderas Bay. So when a team cannot finish a disentanglement effort, we put into alert the other nearby teams, and hopefully in a couple of days, the teams nearby will finish with the rescue of the whales. So now we're going to show you one video with kind of like summarizes this first part, so you can get a better idea of how RABEN and the rescues work.
RABEN es la red de asistencia a ballenas enmayadas que se inició como un equipo local en la Bahía de Banderas, México, con un primer desenmaye exitoso en el año 2004. Desde el 2012 hasta la fecha, RABEN creció de un equipo a 15, bajo la coordinación de Ecología y Conservación de Ballenas, ECOBAC, una organización mexicana sin fines de lucro. A través del programa PROCER de CONAM, se recibieron fondos para capacitación y equipamiento, creando una red nacional con 180 miembros a lo largo de la costa del Pacífico mexicano y la península de Baja California. Los equipos son multiinstitucionales, con miembros de instituciones gubernamentales como CONAM, CEMAR, PROFEPA, CEMARNAT, Capitanías de Puerto, API, CONAPESCA, y miembros de la sociedad civil como ONGs, turoperadores de observación de ballenas y universidades. RABEN sigue el protocolo de desenmayes de la Comisión Ballenera Internacional. Las maniobras de rescate siempre se realizan a bordo de una embarcación y nunca nadando o buceando, ya que se corre un riesgo innecesario. Cada desenmalle presenta diferentes desafíos, y tratar de rescatar a una ballena es peligroso, por lo que solo los miembros entrenados y autorizados de RABEN pueden realizar maniobras de desenmalle. A la fecha se han atendido 75 reportes y rescatado con éxito más de 30 ballenas, en su mayoría ballenas jorobadas y también otras especies como ballena gris, ballena de aleta, ballena de Drake. Si ves una ballena enmayada, informa a tu capitanía de puerto o zona naval de tu localidad. Ellos alertarán al equipo RABEN más cercano.
Okay, Astrid, we'll turn it back over to you. And I think you'll need to, there you go.
Okay, no, thank you. Well, that was a nice video, shows a bit what we do, but also something that is important to let you know is that we rescue different species of whales in Mexico, or this group of RABEN has been rescue the whales, for example, the humpback whale, that's one of the most common ones that we rescue. Then we have the gray whale that is more in the lagoons in Baja California, that is still some cases with those gray whales. You can see there the gray whale. And but also there's other species that we were working with them. Each species has its own challenge and different locations, but we have, for example, here this sperm whale, this bright whale called the sardinera, because always looking for sardines, or so the idea is to show that not only one species is affecting with this debris or gear or fisherman gear. Something that is amazing is how strong the whales are and how big is the problem, because it's an international problem. So, for example, there's whales that can have a trap of a crab trap, and they could bring it down to Alaska or down to Mexico, more than 2,000 nautical miles. And also they can carry the gear for more than 5 months. So it's amazing how strong they are, but also it's amazing the whales that bring all this gear many distance, and of course sometimes they just bring in a small pieces, but most of the time they bring a big pieces of gear. And in the worst cases, sometimes they cannot feed because they are trapped all the body. But that's why it's important to do something. And we also learn year by year, and it's also an international collaboration. For example, here we have a gear coming from the British Columbia. There was information that the Fish and Wildlife Ministry of Canada, we share with them. And also now we know we rescued this whale in February 2018. And this case was quite difficult, but at the end we learn something, and something that we're also working is also on prevention, and sharing this information and study those cases will give us some important data to work on prevention. and also to have the whole picture. This is another international collaboration. This was with the United States with NOAA. So we know, for example, this particular case was in Los Cabos in Baja California, and the team of RABEN rescued this whale with a crab trap. And it was amazing because this whale was trapped in April 2016, and later on travels almost 4 months or more, and get to in November, 7 months, and get in November, and was rescued by the team of RABEN there in Los Cabos. In United States, they are more organized than in Mexico. They put the tags, and there are more. In Mexico, we don't have that that happens, that they tag the fisherman gear. But anyway, those data and the international collaboration is very important, because the whales and wildlife, they don't have borders, and it's important to collaborate and work as a team, even international.
So a little bit of our results from 2004 to 2020. RABEN has attended so far 148 different reports. And of those 148 reports, we have successfully released 44% of those. And 20% more were whales that were not necessary to release. That means that they had very little gear that was not life-threatening and that was going to fall on its own. So we didn't need to go and try to take it from the whale. So basically, that means that at least 64% of those reports of those whales survived. So, which is a very good result, and with all these different species, it's great really to have 64 whales rescued at least. And as Karel was saying, we have different species, but the humpbacks take 85% of all these cases. And the reason to have more humpbacks entangled than any other species are actually many reasons. One is their wide distribution. We can find them all over Baja, the Sea of Cortez, and the Pacific coastline of Mexico. And then, of course, their morphology. They have these beautiful, super big pectoral fins. Here you can see the pectoral fin of a not very happy humpback whale that we were trying to rescue. And those big flippers or pectoral fins make them more easy to get entangled than other whales. And of course, since they're coming to mate and to calve, they're staying for longer periods of time and traveling sometimes very close to the coastline where the fishing gear is. So there's more interaction. So that's why humpback whales are the most likely to get entangled of all the whales. And the really good news is that this season, for consecutive year, this is our second consecutive year with no gray whale entanglement reports at San Ignacio Lagoon. So these are amazing news. It means fishermen in Mexico are doing their work. They are not fishing in the lagoons when the whales are visiting. They are taking very good care of their gear. They're also not getting entangled or during the migration down to Mexico. So that's really very good news for the gray whales. And this is our ultimate goal. Our goal is not to be rescuing whales like crazies and to have more and more reports every year. Our goal will be to have less and less reports and say no whale is entangled, meaning no whale is in problems. So that will be our ultimate goal. And as Karel was saying, we are collecting all this data from all these different entanglements and working in collaboration with United States and Canada, because internationally we need to learn more about this issue in order to be able to work towards prevention. That's really what we want to do, work to have this more whale-friendly fishing gear, so to not affect the fishermen and to not affect the whales. That would be awesome. And now we're going to show you another video with a little bit of the cases of the whales we rescued this season.
Hi.
Yep, we have you now. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Good. No, I hope you like. Yes. Excellent. Well, I hope you like the video. There were the most of the fresh cases this season actually, but as I say, this work works as a teamwork, and in order to get our goal is we've been training different group of volunteers. Something is important that these volunteers they not get paid. It's not his regular job. Actually, that's why we have many teams, but they are really involved, and we thanks of them because the effort is not just the person on the rescue boat. The effort goes bigger from the people that call us for the rescue, for the people that is waiting with the whale in order to locate the whale. The people is taking the reports. So everybody's part of this effort and to get our goal. And another important thing is many years we are also with training before the season, and also we attend workshops because every year before the season starts, the people has to be ready. Bueno, and now the RABEN team with coordination of International Whaling Commission is making these workshops not only in Mexico. We are with our friends in Colombia, Peru, and Chile. I was in the one in Colombia and Peru, and was really nice experience in a different country with a different way of respond. But at the same way, there are some things that we have in common: the passion to protect the marine mammal species, and also the teamwork. And the idea to give these workshops is also again work on the prevention, work on the safety, and also try to find an international solution for an international problem.
So something we are very thankful about and we want to share with you is, as you know, Natural Habitat has a nice philanthropy project where they give some funds to some of these global conservation efforts that go out throughout our beautiful planet. And in 2018, NatHab gave some funds to RABEN. So we want to thank NatHab and all of our travelers, all of you guys listening, because basically you made these rescues also possible. So thank you for that. You're part of the rescue team now.
Thanks, NatHab.
So thank you for all of you for joining us. I think maybe we might have time for some questions. I hope you enjoy it.
Muchas gracias.
Yes.
And if you have any questions, please.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have some questions. So I will start with this question for you. What kind of background or experience is required to become a volunteer for RABEN?
Well, usually it has to be somebody that will live in the spot and in the place where we have the team that have a lot of availability. They have to be Mexican, and they have the best will be to have knowledge about the whales. They also have to know how to maneuver an outboard motor, the vessel, and if possible, know how to deal with gear under pressure like nets and ropes and things like that. But of course, nobody has all those qualities in one person. It's a little bit hard. So somebody is good at boating, somebody's good at cutting, somebody's good at taking the reports. So and a lot of training for everybody, definitely.
Mm-hmm. On average, how many calls do you get per year about entangled whales?
Well, this season we got 24 countrywide, but it varies. It varies a lot. In Puerto Vallarta, in the past 3 years, we have been receiving more. This year for the RABEN team in Banderas Bay, Puerto Vallarta was very busy. We got 11 reports in just one season, which for us is a lot.
And how do you find the whale, the entangled whale, after it has been reported?
Bueno, this is how it works is somebody saws the whale in or trap in a net or with a buoy or something, and it calls the harbor master or the navy or the or our local phone, and then the idea is to stay with the whale so we can find the whale. We have with a GPS, but that's one of the big efforts of the whale watching fleet or the fishermen or the people actually in the sailboats. When they saw a whale, let us know, and the best is to stay with the whale as long as possible. We have like an hour to respond in average to get where the whale is. But even if the whales are big, the ocean is bigger, so we can lose those whales quite easy. Happens sometimes that we receive a call for the whale in the net, but and then we cannot find it, or we find it the next day.
Do you think that the whales have a sense that they are being helped, and do you think that sometimes whales might actually seek help from humans?
Well, definitely they don't seek for help. That's definitely a no. And they're also not as gentle as we think in general. What we have to think is an entangled whale is a 50-ton animal that is in a lot of stress. The net or the rope hurts. They're probably starving. They cannot move properly. So it's an animal, a big animal with a lot of stress. So it's not a happy animal. So basically, the first rule is the whale doesn't know that you're there to help them. Most of the time, they really try to get rid of us and to avoid us. It's a very complex situation. Sometimes it feels like the whale will turn around, so you can cut a piece that is missing. But sometimes it's our brain. It's hard to tell when it's your heart going over your brain. But for us, the rule is the whale never is going to be grateful for helping in all these years. Really, there's not much thanks received, and we're not doing it for that. But basically, no. The answer is no. You have to go back to think like a dog that's been run over a car. Even if you try to help the dog, if you don't know that dog, probably the dog is going to try to bite you because it's scared and it's under stress. So just picture that, but with a huge animal in a huge stress. It's very hard to be kind of like easygoing.
Mm-hmm. And once the team reaches the whale, how long does it take to do? Can you give us a little bit of a description about that process?
But it really depends how the net is on the whale or the trap. But sometimes there could be 2 hours, and sometimes it could be to 11 hours. So it really varies. Something that we have in mind, and also we bring to the boats is of course water, but some food and some lotion, because we don't know if we're gonna be from 2 hours to 11. So really varies a lot, but I think in average 5 hours. Also, something important, we cannot always respond. Sometimes depends of the weather. If it's too windy and too many waves, it almost makes impossible to rescue a whale. So we depend on that too.
And also the process once we find the whale is basically the protocol is a little bit based on the procedure the commercial whalers used to do. Instead of having a harpoon, we have a special grapple. So we throw the grapple with a line, and then we add a working line. And to that working line, we add buoys. You saw a lot of those buoys around in the videos. So what we're trying to do is to make the whale go slower a little bit and to keep it in the surface for a little bit longer periods of time. And then we use the long extensions you saw, the yellow poles, that have some special cutting knives to start cutting. And we always cut the head first, all the way back to the tail, because the tail is the most powerful part of the whale. So if we release the tail first, that will be goodbye whale. We will never catch up, and then we're going to be also in more trouble because the whale can hit you very hard with the tail. So always try to work from the head to the bottom. But as Karel says, every case is different. Sometimes we just have one very tight rope that is very hard to cut because you need to get very close to the whale only with your poles. Sometimes you have a lot of nets, and sometimes the net breaks easily. So but every case is different, but the protocol and the idea is the same. Have a working line with your buoys, and then cutting with your poles.
And I guess the buoys prevent the whale from doing a deep dive.
Exactly. They still are going to take the buoys down. It's very amazing. But then when they are resurfacing, we can know more precisely where they are, and they will stay longer at the surface.
Okay. So how long? I know you gave us some examples of how long the whales that you find with their gear. What's the longest that you know of that a whale has been entangled before it was found and released?
The 7-month whale, we have before in average 5 months, but the 7-month whale, Karel was telling you, the one from San Francisco, California, that was released in Los Cabos, that was 7 months.
Okay, that's amazing. All right. We have a few students from Trinity High School listening today, and they would like to know how young people can get involved in conservation efforts.
Well, yeah, definitely. Not in the rescues, but in any other conservation effort, just reporting correctly, and spreading the word, it's very important. If people don't know how to report or where to report or what to do when they see a whale, that they should not go in the water, that they should call us, then it gets to be a very big problem, or we cannot help the whales. So definitely spreading the word and sharing the right information or making the right report is a good way of helping for us. But in conservation, in other ways, I think there are many things to be done worldwide. It depends. The closest to home, I will say, will be usually the best, because there's always something to do at home to help in our local community. There's always many needs.
Mm-hmm. Do you have aircraft pilots in RABEN to help keep track of entrapped whales?
No, we don't. We hardly have funds for the boats. We only have like one dinghy that is exclusively for RABEN use, and the rest of our fleet is the boats that the members put their own boats and their own gasoline. So definitely no aircraft, which will be great, but no, we don't have it.
So are there ways to donate to RABEN?
Yes, sure. We have a website for RABEN, which is www.rabenmexico.org, and then you can find the donation. There's also money, but there's always a lot of things that we need, like knives that are super expensive, and ropes and buoys. But just for instance, we buy our knives from Spyderco, and every knife is around $140.
Okay. Those are good knives. I know about those. Spyderco makes a great knife. I think my last question for you today is, can you comment on the specific question that came in was, does Mexican law encourage less entangled fishing gear? But I almost wonder, this is we could probably ask the same question of U.S. and Canada as well. So are there any laws that are coming about that will encourage this?
Well, it works different in the 3 different countries, but definitely in some places there are some more strict laws than in others. In Mexico, it's a federal offense to kill a whale. So if you have a net and it's an illegal net and a whale die, you go directly to jail if they catch you, of course. But because it's a federal offense, the whales are protected by law in Mexico. But then if your net is legal, you will still go to an administration procedure, because it was what we call incidental bycatch. You didn't do it on purpose to hurt the whale. It's an accident. But what Mexico is trying to do is we had some workshops that were sponsored by our national park system with fishermen in order to see what we could do to work together. And we did 3 different workshops. We got a very nice result of a brochure with fishermen suggestions for fishermen to prevent whales from getting entangled. And it's very expensive to do new gear. So basically right now that's where we are, but we are looking forward to start running experimental gear here in Mexico. But I know, for instance, in California, recently the entanglements are really increased in the past 3 years. So they have to put a ban on the crab pod fishery for 1 month. And now they're working very hard, and there's a lot of money on new gear for crab pods in California, United States. So it varies a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right. Well, I am going to stop there. This has been terrific. What a great way to finish off our week with our daily dose of nature, and to help take us on this virtual journey and into the lives of all of you at RABEN and all the great work you're doing. So let me turn it back to you now for closing comments.
Bueno, pues just to hope you liked this webinar, and you know a bit of the situations with the whales in the ocean. And muchas gracias. And we're gonna be here looking for those whales and helping them. Now they are going back to United States and Canada. They are leaving the bay, and we're gonna be prepared and ready for the next season that is gonna be like in November.
Thank you for joining us. Have a nice weekend.
Yeah, and my thanks as well. We appreciate having all of you here. We start up again on Monday with our topics for the week. Be on the lookout for that email invitation for all of those. And with that, we will say happy Friday and conclude our webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Absolutely.